What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. What a time to be a Razorback fan, right? Diamond Hogs advancing to the Super Regional with a dramatic win over Nebraska. The football team, the 15-month dead period is over. They had a big visit weekend and more to come on that. The basketball team just added a transfer addition. We're going to talk with Danny West and Curtis Wilkerson today because we got a lot to get to. We're going to answer your questions as well. All that and more on Hog Sports Live. Before we get started, I want to express my condolences to the family of John McDonnell, who passed away at age 82, led an incredible life, and to the Razorback fans who followed him and enjoyed the success that he brought to the Razorback track program, 40 national championships. But John McDonnell passes away at age 82 after a dramatically incredible, full, wonderful life. Great Razorback right there. So, switching gears, well, first I got to remind everybody, plenty of ways to watch and listen. Of course, you can always tune in on Facebook Live. If you haven't followed the page, be sure to follow the page right now. Also available on YouTube. Be sure to hit the like button on both those platforms. Follow, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload new videos. Also available on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't thrown us a 5-star review, go ahead and do that now. Also available on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you can pick up to find your favorite podcast. HawgSports.com is just $1 right now for your first month at HawgSports.com. And you're going to want to use that because there's so much going on right now with Razorback recruiting and, of course, baseball and basketball stuff. A lot of good stuff happening. Charlie Welch, Kevin Kopps, heroes. Casey Opitz, all those guys. What a great game to watch. I mean, it took a while to get going. But, you know, what's kind of funny about this whole thing, none of that happens without that ball hitting Christian Franklin on the foot. I know the announcers thought it was an acting job, but that ball hit him on the foot. But I'm going to go ahead and jump right in with Curtis because we got a lot to get to with Curtis. For those who don't follow him, Curtis handles most of our basketball and baseball content, recruiting as well, does a fantastic job, has been really busy as of late with everything going on. But Curtis has been with us about a year now, and couldn't be happier with his addition to HawgSports.com. And if you want to follow him, it's at @KurtWilkerson_.
Hey, Trey.
On Twitter. Hey, Curtis. I was just letting everybody know how busy you are with everything going on with basketball and, of course, baseball. And you were there for the regional, and saw Charlie Welch knock that ball out of the park. And of course, just a dramatic. I don't know how many different videos I've seen. I've seen at least 2, I guess, of that scene played to the Titanic music with Celine Dion, which is incredibly fitting. What are your impressions of everything that you saw yesterday and over the weekend?
Oh, it was unreal. You know, it's just, first of all, it's just so nice to see Von Walker Stadium packed again. And
hell yeah, it is.
The enthusiasm, the energy from the crowd. I mean, that's been pent up. That's been building up, and they really unleashed throughout the weekend. Even for NJIT, who became the adopted team of Fayetteville. They weren't playing Arkansas, so it was a great weekend. And listen, Arkansas was on the brink going into this game yesterday, and there was some nervous energy in the ballpark. There really was, and Nebraska comes out and they take a 2-0 lead, and you obviously feel good about turning to Kevin Kopps, but man, it's the third inning.
So early.
You're just wondering, how good of a feeling you have about things. And, there's a lot of strikeouts. And, when Opitz popped that solo shot in the 5th inning, it's almost like it flipped a switch in the stadium. And really after that, they're still down a run, but I kind of felt like, all right, they're going to get this done. Mm-hmm. And it was crazy there in the 8th inning. You talked about that moment, and, Christian Franklin, what a great at bat. I mean, he had struggled all weekend, and he finds himself down, behind in the count again, and battles back there. And you mentioned the ball off his foot, and he winds up working a walk, and then he scores the go-ahead run on a wild pitch. So the place hasn't even settled down from that yet. Mm-hmm. And then Welch just goes up there and launches one. So it was pretty impressive. It just goes to show you this, this team. It's insane the way that they just continue to respond with, through adversity, backs against the wall, behind. it just doesn't matter. They just continue to find a way. So it's been really, really impressive, and going to be another good weekend with NC State coming to town.
Yeah. So this 11 out of 12 for Razorback baseball, and the thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit about baseball sometimes is the best team doesn't always win. It's like 2 out of 3 times. A lot of times the best team will win. It's just a higher percentage than like in other sports. Like in football, if you're the better team, a lot of times you can just kind of poke your chest out and feel pretty confident. But, so many things can go wrong in baseball. But at the same time, the whole time I'm watching the game, I'm sitting there thinking something's going to happen. There's going to be a moment here. Like I never felt like Arkansas, even when they were down the whole time, was going to lose. You just always felt like there's going to be a moment here that pops up at some point that we're all going to be talking about for years to come. And it happened. Right. And it was beautiful. It was fun to watch. So what do we know about the NC State game? Is that Friday or is it going to be Saturday? Is it Friday?
The series is going to start on Friday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 5 o'clock Central Time, the first pitch for that. Best of 3 super regional. It's going to be really interesting. This NC State team kind of flew under the radar a little bit. They got off to a rough start. They were 1-8 to start ACC play, and then I want to say that they finished league play either 18-5 or 18-6. So they got red hot. They just went down to Ruston for the regional, and they went 3-0, and they weren't even really challenged against, an Alabama and Louisiana Tech team who Arkansas both, they won both series against those guys, but both of those teams took a game from the Razorbacks. So they're coming in here. They've got 4 or 5 guys hitting over 300 in the lineup. They've got some power. I think they're up over 80 home runs on the year. Pitching, maybe not, on the same level as we saw from a team like Nebraska, but they're formidable. And what's interesting about them, they were about 500 at home this year. They're 17-3 on the road. So it's going to be an interesting series.
I've seen people say, you got to rest Cops on Friday, who Cops is now 11 saves and 12-0 also. But the guy's just a machine. I mean, when do you pitch him?
I pitch him whenever you need him. I mean, it's just it's unreal. And we keep asking Dave Van Horn about it, and he just gets this grin, in the corner of his mouth, and he can't even explain it. He said the other day, "Hey, the Cops is just a different cat. He's a different dude," and it's true. You cringe sometimes. I mean, he threw 185 pitches over the weekend. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. But he's just different than everybody else. He's got different arm action, and you just use him differently than other teams use their relievers. And so it's a bit unorthodox, and it might make you uncomfortable. But, man, you talk to Cops after the game, and he's just like, hey, no, I feel better as the game goes along. I wasn't coming out. So maybe it's the beet juice. I don't know.
It is the beet juice, Curtis. And I've known about this for a couple years now because I stay on top of all that kind of health stuff like that. But the science is real.
You called it as soon as he said it. You told me.
Yeah, the science is real behind beet juice and how it increases the oxygenation or whatever of your blood. That's not the proper term, but the secret is I think it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's supposed to be the sweet spot before athletic competition. Do it next time you go out and run or something like that, Curtis, or anybody out there listening. Set it, do 2 hours and 20 minutes before you run and see if you don't put together your best performance to date. All right, Curtis. I hate to say enough about baseball because, we could talk forever about everything that's going on. It's fun to be really good at something.
Yes, it is.
But I want to flip you over to basketball because just a little while ago, Arkansas got some good news out of the transfer portal. The importer strikes again, this time with Trey Wade. And this guy has been all over the place, from UTEP to junior college to Wichita State. What can you tell us about him? And was this something that you kind of saw coming down the pipe, or a surprise?
Well, it's really interesting. I would say I was half surprised. So a few days ago, I was talking to a source, and was just trying to figure out how they felt about the team. You've got 2 scholarships open at that point. Guys are back for summer training camp. How's it looking? And the vibe seemed to be, that they felt really good about where they're at, but would like to maybe add some help on the backboards with rebounding. Mm-hmm. And so I immediately went to, oh, cool, bring in a big man, right? And then I was cautioned that rebounding help could come in a variety of shapes and sizes. And that's really exactly what you get with Trey Wade here. So, a 6'6", undersized power forward. He's tough. He's physical. He's athletic enough to where he can get out and run in transition. He can defend on the perimeter and not hurt you out there. So really, another one of those additions that Eric Musselman just loves with these guys who are 6'6" to 6'8", and they can do a variety of things, and he really fits the mold for that. And it adds, some depth to a front court that you kind of wondered if it was a little bit thin going into the season. So he's going to kind of be a blend between, maybe what you get out of Kamani Johnson with a little bit more perimeter pop. He's a guy that can stretch it out from three a little bit. He's not going to light you up, but 30% or so, you got to respect it. But, an interesting pickup. I know, some people out there were looking at, some of the bigger, more high-profile, sexy names. But in terms of what Arkansas needed and what they were seeking, I think they're getting exactly what they were looking for in Trey Wade. It's a nice addition.
Curtis Wilkerson joining us. Again, you can follow Curtis at @KurtWilkerson_ on Twitter. And so this happened just a little bit before we started the show, and so I watched a little bit of his video. But, yeah, he can step out and shoot the three. I'll say what stood out to me, we get fixated on height a lot, but what I thought stood out just watching his videos, he's a guy, at least it looks like, has really long arms also, and that obviously helps in the rebounding department. But
absolutely,
what do you average, like six rebounds a game the last couple of years total? Let's see, 5.4, and I got my notes all mixed up here, but yeah, about 6 rebounds per game. So that's been kind of one of the one things, like, as far as, like, I don't want to say like criticisms, but like the one things like why Arkansas is maybe 10th and not 5th is people are, kind of look at that front court a little bit and say, maybe could use a little more depth right there. So, there's a guy that can add stuff. By the way, Curtis, Eric Musselman is having his day one camp or whatever for the kids and stuff right now. My daughter's there right. Well, she just wrapped up. It ended at 12. She was in the morning session. But
she got better today, and she's probably going to have plenty of energy when she gets home.
Yeah, she said Jay Will's working with them, who she called Will J.
Oh, very cool. I love it.
Yeah, tall John legend. But she's working, and Devo Davis is working it too. And this was hilarious. But a buddy of mine said that he went to pick his kid up, and he's a good friend of mine, and his son is 8. And, I mean, you have never seen a bigger basketball fan than this guy. Like, I'll go over to their house, and he's watching the 2017 slam dunk contest or something like that, just always. And always, he'll just, like, I don't want to say wearing me out, but just always talking Razorback basketball. And he said he went there, and they're, like, supposed to be doing this defensive drill or stuff, and he goes in there, and he's just, I can see him, and he's just, like, wearing out Devo. And then somebody else told me that their kids, like, didn't even know, like, a camp is actually going on. They're just over there trying to talk to the players. So really cool deal for the kids to be able to do that. I guess that runs tomorrow, and then they've got some other camps coming up. So they're doing all that stuff right now.
Awesome.
So nice addition from the basketball team in Trey Wade. Maybe a little unexpected. They've still got a spot left, don't they, Curtis?
They do. Yeah, they still have a spot left, and I'll be very interested to see what they do with that. The last couple of years they've held a scholarship open, and that could be something that they very well could do again. I mean, you take a look up and down that roster, and I'm going to work on the scholarship distribution and depth chart and things like that a little later this afternoon, but you kind of wonder at this point what you need. So it'll be interesting. I could see him holding on to it maybe for a little bit here, and as some of these early entrants into the NBA draft, decide maybe they need to come back to college for another year, and then you can poke around there, and hey, if the right thing pops up and something that you can't turn down, pounce on it, jump on it. And if it doesn't, then I think they've got plenty of depth to get by with an open scholarship. So, whatever they want to do, however they want to approach it, they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Now, Curtis, looking ahead to the class of 2022, we just ended the 14.5-month-long recruiting dead period. So Arkansas had some visitors come in right away at the start of June. What happened with the visitors, and what can we look forward to as far as visitors coming in?
Yeah, it was a busy week. I mean, they focused heavily on the in-state guys right away. We talked about that 2022 class of in-state guys until we're blue in the face, and there's good reason for it. They're good. So, Darian Ford, the combo guard, 4-star, top 50 guy out of Magnolia, he was there on the very first day, alongside 6'11" center out of North Little Rock, Khalil Ware. Both those guys shared their official visit time together. All indications are that they really, really enjoyed it. And, for Eric Musselman, June 1st had to have been like Christmas coming around. He lives for that. So, it sounds like the presentations that they had and, the guys being able to sit in on some of those training camp practices and just getting some face time with the coaches and the players and the staff, it's so important. And, all indications are that those visits went well. Joseph Pinion, the lone commit right now in the 2022 class out of Morrilson, he came up and on an unofficial visit and kind of shared some time with those guys, did a little bit of recruiting there himself. So that was really good to see. And then another, top 50 guy, 4-star wing, it's actually the Gatorade Alabama High School Player of the Year, Barry Dunning, was in town as well. I think he got in on town on the 2nd and stayed through the 4th. He came down and he really enjoyed his visit. He actually went with his family to the NJIT game, the baseball game, on Friday, and I got a chance to catch up with him down there. And we were in the middle of a little bit of an interview there, and Christian Franklin hit a game-tying home run. The crowd was going crazy, and obviously, him taking the initiative to get a ticket and get in there and experience that weighed on him. So I think
because
he
really can't do it.
He
can't just you can't just give postseason tickets away like you can a normal baseball game. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think that speaks volumes about the time that he had on his trip. And he was a guy who initially said that he was going to wait and commit in January. I think January 13th is his mother's birthday, one of those deals. He's bumped that up, so he's announcing on June the 30th he's going to go to Memphis and Ole Miss between now and then to take a visit. I like where Arkansas stands there for the moment. So very good stuff there with those guys coming in. You had Layden Blocker, who's going to be a really good player, a 2023 guy who came in for an unofficial visit over the weekend. He enjoyed it as well. There's a little bit of a break here, and then we get closer towards the end of the month, and you got just another run of these talented prospects coming in. You got Ramel Lloyd, 4-star guy out of California, Jordan Walsh, another highly ranked 4-star guy, this one from Texas, Kajani Wright, the 5-star big man out of California. So, and Richard Isaacs, another guy, a point guard, and he's pushing 5-star status. So another guy that's coming in at the very end of the month for a visit. So they just keep rolling them in and, building off the momentum of what was a great season last year.
Those are the kinds of things you got to watch out for in recruiting. Buying your own ticket to a game, when recruits come in and bring their whole family with them and stuff like that, or make a second trip on their own dime. Those are the kinds of things that the cues you have to watch for in terms of seeing a guy's real interest in a program. All right, Curtis, that was great stuff. Appreciate you joining us.
Of course.
I can't think of anything else we got to get to Danny West. We got to get to Danny. We got so much recruiting stuff. So
yeah, he's got a lot to say too. We probably all should have just came over and brought our microphones and done it together.
Yeah, just crammed in here in the frame, nice and close. No, yeah, they were lifted the restrictions on COVID, so we would have been fine.
Exactly.
All right, Curtis. Appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
Thanks. All right, everybody. That's Curtis Wilkerson. Just one more reason that you need to sign up for HawgSports for $1. For all the basketball recruiting news, all the stuff he covers with baseball, and then, of course, Danny West, who we're about to get to as well. So Danny has been with us a lot longer, 10 times longer, I guess. Danny's been with us for, over a decade now. Everybody knows who Danny West is. When you talk Razorback recruiting, you can't not talk about Danny West. So he's been busy. Arkansas had a ton of visitors coming up this past weekend. You can follow Danny at DannyWest247 on Twitter. Danny,
Trey Biddy.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Just sitting around drinking beet juice and watching Charlie Welch highlights.
Yeah, you are. You'll be ready to go in about 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Let's do it.
Well, we've been talking a lot about the baseball game with Curtis, who was there covering it. But your thoughts, just as an observer watching the game.
Oh man, just incredible. Dude, I didn't have a very good feeling about that game yesterday all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of those, hate to say it, Hogs gonna hog setups, where you go all year with the greatest team in history of the program, and maybe they just might run out of gas, come up a little bit short. But lo and behold, man, Charlie Welch and Kevin Cops. I mean, they did it all year, and they did it again last night. So shouldn't be all that surprising. Honestly, it's just incredible how many times they can keep it up. I think they were 6-0 in rubber match games yesterday going into the game, 4-0 in game threes after losing game twos, which essentially was the setup yesterday. So now 5-0 in that situation. It's really impressive, man.
Yeah, I love the up and down momentum and the roller coaster. And, people used to always tell me, calm down, it's just a game and stuff. But that's what I want. I want to live and die on the game and, feel nervous and anxious and pace around, bite your fingernails, all that kind of stuff. I had a buddy of mine in one of our group threads who sent, he's like, believe, and it's got a picture of him, in his Razorback shirt with a mustache on with, the Razorback slugger. And then, partially through the game when they're trailing, he goes, we're like that golfer who grinds it out in the qualifying round to make the tournament and then misses the cut when he finally makes the tournament. And just like, what happened to the believe guy, But that roller coaster, it's so much fun. It's what, sports are like a movie a lot of times. It just watching it unfold. It's fun, and especially when
I'm not in that particular group thread, but some of the group threads I am in. Yeah,
you sent me some green screenshots of some of the stuff that your buddies sent.
Baseball brings out the best in some of my buddies.
Wow.
Man. And the absolute worst.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, you got some buddies with a lot of worst.
Yeah, a lot of worst.
Yeah, but funny. So you released your confidence meters. So what was it, 7 or 8 recruits who came in town this past weekend?
7.
7.
Basically.
Yeah.
They had another guy from Hutchinson Community College. I'm not sure I would even classify that as a true targeted player, to be honest with you. So I'm going to stick with 7.
Right. So some of the great content that Danny does is, we have a crystal ball where experts from around the country, team site guys like Danny, regional, national analysts, predict where they think players are going. And then just last year or so, we added a confidence meter to that. So it's a crystal ball, but, it's an 8 confidence meter, or is it a 3? So Danny went through with all those guys and spoke to all of them just to get their thoughts. But you can read every single one of these on all 7 visitors, Danny West
all
article.
Free.
Yeah, and we ran all these for free. So rare free content, but a lot of the content, like if you want to see his crystal ball stuff, and the way we kind of do that, stuff that's going to get out, we'll run for free. Stuff that other people might have, we'll run for free. But things like Danny West crystal ball predictions and stuff, that ain't free. That's stuff we put a lot of extra work and effort into. So, Danny, I just wanted to get your overall impressions of the weekend, what you thought about maybe who's some guys to watch coming out of this weekend. Of course, Miles Rouser, I think the best thing that we heard is with Miles Rouser is that he feels very firm with his Arkansas commitment right now. For those who don't know, he's a safety out of Michigan who is Arkansas's #1 recruit in the class right now.
Yeah, that was big. I'll start with that. Miles was really impressive. You think about it, Trey, that's quite a leap of faith for a kid from Detroit.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
I like how you say Detroit.
Detroit.
That's that rise,
like
down in July. In Detroit in July, it gets hot.
Yeah, you ever been down around D Queen in July? Anyway, that gum, right? Miles Rouser.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, super good to keep him firmly committed to Arkansas, and I thought he was really impressive. And I'll tell you this, I think he's really helping with Anthony Brown, the athlete out of Milan, Tennessee, big time, heavily recruited kid that they also want at safety. I thought it was interesting they would bring out the big guns this weekend. You had Jalen Catalon, All-American safety, hosting this guy. You had Traylon Burks hosting C.J. Smith, the wide receiver out of Florida. So, Arkansas knows what they've got in those two, and they put them to work this weekend. But Anthony Brown out of Milan, Tennessee, last week And a quick note on this confidence meter story: it's not so much de facto crystal ball prediction. Some of these guys I haven't even made a true prediction on yet. This is just kind of where I think Arkansas's confidence
For
is.
a crystal ball, you don't want to make a pick because you're stuck with the pick. You can only change the confidence meter, so you don't want to make a bad mistake. But yeah, I get just for our readers where your level is. But some of these guys, you do have crystal ball picks.
That's right, correct. Yep, and I note that when it's possible. But
Tomiwe Durioje. Did I nail it?
I'm going Durojaye.
Durojaye? Yeah,
that's
a tough
what
one.
I would go with, but
I made Randy Rainwater say it on the air.
Do you have a clip of that by any chance?
It should be on SoundCloud.
Yeah, it should. Anyway, going back to AB, I had him at a 6 going into the visit, and that's kind of the idea of the story. Let's see how the visits might impact where I think they stand with them, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll give you one example there. Anthony Brown I had at a 6 going into the visit. Coming out of it, the new confidence meter that I've got says 8. Mm-hmm. So I think Arkansas was already in a good spot with Anthony and further improved their chances there. And then, I don't want to give it all away there, but there's a few more guys that I increased on. A couple of them stayed the same, just nothing huge, nothing significant. And, I guess the good news is none of them dropped, right? Now, there are some, Trey, that, some of those 4-star guys, like the Emory Jones kid.
He was kind of a late addition.
With you.
Yeah, out of Baton Rouge, yeah.
I think he's probably going to LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't try to paint a picture where Arkansas's chances are much greater than what they actually are. So I've got that at a low confidence overall. But, yeah, it was a fun story. I think it's something I'm going to continue to do prior to the visitors and then afterwards. So,
that'll be fun.
Something else to look forward to there.
Yeah, a subscriber should enjoy that. Anthony Brown is a shade under 4-star status out of Milan, Tennessee. I'm not even sure how to say that. His top 4 right now would be, according to our interest levels on 24/7 Sports, Arkansas, Indiana, Alabama, and Michigan State, all reporting offers on those.
Originally from Detroit himself, Trey.
Detroit.
So that's the connection with Miles Rouser, and of course you bring in Benton Butler, the recruiting coordinator. Some Detroit ties there. So a lot going on with Michigan right now. It's kind of as I've called it, a geographical oddity. This class, they're just spread out. You can talk about the kid from Delaware. I mean, we've seen commitments come from South Carolina. I think they're going to be in a really good spot next week. I say next week, later this week, with Manny Powell, linebacker out of Canton, Ohio. When's the last time you've seen anybody sign with Arkansas from any of those places I just mentioned there? So it's just kind of a weird class, man. But Anthony Brown, as you said, he's a big-time player on both sides of the ball. He's played quarterback, receiver, DB, which is where Arkansas wants him, and I think he's a really good one there. 6'2", 192, just one of those guys you can do a whole lot with in the secondary.
So you've also got coming in this weekend Bryson Hurst, Patrick Kutas, offensive lineman Patrick Kutas out of Memphis, and Bryson Hurst, offensive lineman Kutas is listed as D lineman. Hurst is listed as an offensive lineman. So 3 at least coming in, and obviously that can change throughout the week. And we've got some camps coming up too. What's the camp schedule we need to be paying attention to? There's a lot going on. I mean, finally the dead period is over and recruits are coming in every single weekend. And these next few weeks we got camps, Razorback camps.
That's right. Well, first I want to say I've buried the lead here. The biggest story so far today is Jalen White. Arkansas is now up to 12 in-state offers, Trey, for this year's class. Yeah, they offered the safety. I would call him more of a hybrid guy. He's about 6'2", 210, maybe 6'3", out of Little Rock Parkview. Kind of one that, when people ask me, is there going to be another one in the state? He was always the first one that came to mind, to be honest with you. So not surprising. If anything surprising, I think maybe a little bit surprising that it took this long, to be honest.
When did that offer happen?
This morning.
Okay.
So very, very recently, within the last hour or so, I would say. So anyway, just talking to Coach Bolding a few minutes ago, and maybe LSU might be close to close to offering Jalen. So keep an eye on that. He's definitely emerging as one of the better players in the state going into his senior year. So just wanted to make a quick note of that. And your question was football camps?
Yes, football camps.
Yep. So next Monday will be the first one, I think. Well, I don't really count the youth camp on June 12th. Right. So I won't be in attendance for that. No. But June 14th, 16th, 22nd, and 24th are the 7-on-7 and lineman camps. So that's grades 9 through 12. Spread in between there on June 17th through the 19th. You're looking at a high school camp, so a 3-day camp is what we call it typically. And then the specialist camp on the 20th. That's grades 9 through 12 and postgraduates too. So if they've already graduated, they can still come in and compete there. That's on June 20th. So, I guess to answer your question, a week from yesterday, next Monday will be the first camp in a really, really long time. So
Pittman's first
I'm
camp.
looking forward to it.
Pittman's first camp as a head coach.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, which, by the way, it was great to see Pittman there at the baseball game, and then, of course, the rally Muss right behind Dave Van Horn.
Muss was losing his mind.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Fantastic. I think he and Dave are really, really good friends.
Yeah, I saw you mention that. Cool. Yeah, it's good to see. All right, brother. Appreciate you jumping on. All right.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.
All right, everybody. That's Danny West, best recruiting man in the business, and I don't just mean Arkansas. I mean other states should be envious that we have Danny West to cover recruiting here at Arkansas. Again, it's just $1 right now for your first month. A lot of stuff going on, and we're going to have coverage of all of it. Switching over a little bit to football real quick. We got to talk a little football. That's my area. But I did a midseason depth chart. So, I already did a game one depth chart, and I did a midseason depth chart now. So, just to kind of project what might happen by the middle of the season. So you can check that out at HawgSports.com. I'll say I didn't make a whole lot of just dramatic changes, but I made a few things that I think are fun, like bumping Keytron Jackson up to the first team by midseason. I look at Keytron Jackson, wide receiver. Mike Woods, he's gone. But Mike Woods is gone, so that opens up a lot of things. But Mike Woods started as a freshman. Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, they all started as freshmen. Keytron Jackson's rated higher than Knox or Woods was. So from a recruiting standpoint, it makes sense that maybe he's a guy to watch to possibly move up eventually. They need him to. What else did I do? Oh, I moved I love Dalton Wagner, by the way. I think Dalton Wagner's pro future resides in professional wrestling as the son of The Undertaker. Takias Crawford is a guy that I could see possibly emerging and overtaking that right tackle spot. He just did some really good things in the spring. Now, he was hurt the second half, but I think that might be a situation to watch. The offensive line is they can return 45 of 50 starts that were possible last year. But, just kind of for fun, keep an eye out for Takias Crawford. Defensive line, I didn't make any sweeping changes. I've got John Ridgway starting. Linebacker, the only thing I would say to watch out for linebacker, because I feel pretty confident you got Grant Morgan, Levi Draper, Bumper Poole, Hayden Henry. Those are going to be your top 4 linebackers. Now, they're all seniors, and 2 of those guys could come back and use a COVID shirt and come back if they want to, but they're all seniors. So, to me, that's a little scary. So, I would think that you would want to bump up some of these younger guys. We're just talking about to the third team. So, you've got some guys like Andrew Parker or Dion Edwards, guys that are a little bit older. And then there's some young guys like J.T. Towers, Kellen Burrell, Christopher Paul. Some of these guys that are a good bit younger, and you have to start thinking about the future. So when you have mop-up duty one way or the other or things like that, it might be a good idea instead of, and no disrespect to Dion Edwards, but it might be a good idea to start getting some of these young guys some action because they're going to be here another year, and you're going to need those guys. So those are, kind of the only changes I made there. And then in the secondary, I made a couple of changes. I moved Miles Slusher up to the starting safety, field safety. No disrespect to Simeon Blair, but I've just been really impressed with Slusher. First of all, from his freshman year, because freshman safeties are scary. They're like the last line of defense. All freshman safeties are bad, really. They always make a game-changing mistake at some point in the season when they're relied on. But we didn't see that out of Slusher last year. I was really impressed with what I saw with him out of the spring. I just think that it's just a matter of time before he either emerges at safety or possibly cornerback, because I think he could play there too. And speaking of cornerback, I did move Corey Johnson up to the starting left cornerback spot. Not that Hudson Clark isn't going to battle there. I like Corey's ceiling a little bit better. I still think Hudson Clark plays for you a good bit. And Hudson's got really strong instincts. I think that's been apparent. I mean, you don't get 3 interceptions with, just by chance like he did in the Ole Miss game. But also when those instincts are wrong, I think we've noticed a little bit of an issue with recovery speed, especially on like double moves and stuff. So I think there's a window for somebody else to challenge him. Again, not that he's not going to be one of the top 3 cornerbacks throughout the season, but I did move Corey Johnson up there, who's kind of an interesting guy because, he wasn't heavily recruited coming out of Suffield Academy up in Connecticut. He's originally from Boston, but then Arkansas offered him, Georgia offered him, and he played also as a true freshman too. So just a few changes I made here and there. I think that's probably it. But you can read the full story. I went 4 deep, so there's some shifts here and there throughout the thing. I took a look at the 11 enrollees also that are enrolling this summer who didn't enroll early. You've got Landon Rogers, 6'4", 215, quarterback. The good thing about Landon, and he'll start at quarterback, but what I like about recruiting dual threat guys that are big also, if it doesn't work out at quarterback, and he's a guy that's kind of raw, you can always try him at something else, 6'4", 215, tight end. If he gets bigger, wide receiver, tight end if he gets bigger. Linebacker. There's a lot of things you can do with that. Obviously, recruited to play quarterback starting out too, but again, a guy that's, needs some development like most guys do, but's got a really big arm and got some good wheels and is an athlete. It's what you don't get with a pro-style quarterback. If you get a pro-style quarterback, you kind of stuck with them at that spot. Devon Manuel, 6'8", 300, another intriguing guy that's kind of raw, but 6'8", 300 is a good place to start. Aaron Outley, who is at tight end, 6'4", 255. Also out of Little Rock Parkview. Chase Lowry, 6', 180, cornerback. Solomon Wright, undersized, 6', 270, defensive tackle. The thing I like about Solomon, while he is undersized, if you're undersized, you have to be extremely explosive, and he is that. He is really quick off the line of scrimmage. And Arkansas has brought in some defensive tackles before who are shorter, undersized, who didn't quite have that explosion, that fast twitch. Bryce Stevens, who just won the 4A 100-meter dash in Oklahoma. Very fast, 6', 170, wide receiver. Arkansas's got a lot of taller, bigger wide receivers, so it's nice to see a nice addition with a guy that's a little bit shorter and shiftier. Cole Carson, 6'5", 285, playing the smallest school level in Texas that plays 11-man football. I think he's probably maybe a guard, right tackle type. Keon Parker, a guy that I really like. I know Danny does too, 5'11", 173, freshman cornerback. He could impact early. He's got a shot. Cameron Ball, 6'5", 300, freshman defensive tackle. And Terry Wells, 6'4", 306, freshman offensive lineman who I think is a left tackle. And then, of course, A.J. Green, another speedy guy. Now, A.J. did not win the 100-meter dash. He won it last time they ran it. I don't think they ran it last year because of COVID, but the year before he won the 5A state championship in the 100-meter dash in Oklahoma. Has a personal best of 10.38. But the dude who won it, the guy who won it ran like a 10.2 state record. So he didn't repeat as state champion this year. But A.J. Green's a guy that could really impact him. Really has a shot. What else? I think we did it. I think we got to everything I wanted to cover, everybody. Let's see if we got any of your questions here. Anything that we didn't cover. Joshua Shiver says, Kevin Copps. Call the cops, says NP Rich. Transfer from Wichita State for basketball, says Shivers. Will Lennox says Kevin Copps is the GOAT. I mean, he may be. He very well may be. People use that term a lot, but what he's done is unmatched. Riss Michael Mankin says, any rumors on the new tight end coach? Oh, we got to talk about that. So Cody, okay, so Brad Davis is from Baton Rouge, okay? And I get it. Your family's from there. It's a rare opportunity to go back home, but the timing is not okay, Brad. The timing's not okay. That's bad timing. I just don't. I get it. It's your family, and it's hard to fault anybody for going home. But we're just a couple months away from the season starting here. I mean, you just kind of screwed everybody. You just went through the spring. That's not the time to leave. You know, I say the time to transfer is the off season for players and stuff, but like not. This the timing is not good. And, you know, Cody Kennedy is a guy that I always felt when Sam Pittman hired him and, you know, did my research, see what people said about him from his past and all that stuff, asked around about him, and really liked him based on that. And I like what I see from him, you know, just from the interview that we had with him, you know, seeing him out there. And I always thought, like, okay, this guy is eventually got a shot to be Arkansas's offensive line coach one day. But probably a little early. Now, I'm the kind of guy that gives everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? I give every coach the benefit of the doubt until I make a decision based on their performance, right? And so, you know, I did that with, you know, Jimmy Smith, for example. You know, this guy that didn't have a lot of experience. Sam Carter, you know, didn't have a lot of experience. Love those guys. I think they do a fantastic job, not only as coaches, but also as recruiters. And I think Cody Kennedy is going to be that too as a recruiter. I think the optics of it is a little bit like this guy's, you know, kind of green a little bit. And offensive line, I always viewed like, make sure you get very experienced, quality coaches as your offensive and defensive coordinator and your offensive line and defensive line coaches. And so Cody doesn't really check those boxes as far as like depth of experience. But I know he's passionate, and I know he can recruit. And I know Sam Pittman absolutely loves him. I just think you know, if this had happened after a year or so, maybe the optics of it are a little better. But again, I'm not saying he can't do the job. I'm not saying that at all. It's a bigger responsibility than the tight ends coach. Now we have to look at, you know, who's going to be the tight ends coach. So that's something that you know, I'm sure will be coming down the pipe here too. So I think it was a move that Sam Pittman probably saw himself making with moving Cody Kennedy to offensive line coach, but just earlier than he had anticipated it happening. So in the works, but it happened earlier. So, yeah, not the ideal time, Brad Davis, to leave a program for a competing program. And I get it. I know you may never get a chance to go back to Baton Rouge and your family's there. I understand it. It's a tough deal. But it's almost like the person that, you know, stops and lets somebody into traffic and kind of screws everybody behind them. You know, it's good for – anyway, that's all I've got to say about that. Moving on. I'm sure Cody Kennedy will do a good job. I'm not the kind of guy, again, that makes a decision on anybody until they've performed. Chris Carlson says, I'm still pumped. I'm still amped up over last night. Yep, you should be. Will Lennox says, man, I wish there was last night. I wish I was there last night. Josh Smith says, great time to be a Hog fan. Trent Clark says, what a game. Titanic music was fitting. I love the Titanic music to it. Celine Dion can sing. The Razorbacks came to play hard. Some players shine at different times. The transfer portal, says Isaac Riley. The transfer portal with basketball and football is crazy right now. Basketball is killing it. We pick Suey, go Hogs. That has to be the greatest part of watching a team, watching how they get hot almost in rotation. Someone always said, they do. I love it. It does feel like the whole team, you know, baseball seems so like individualized in so many ways. You know, it's the pitcher and the batter, the catcher involved too. But it does feel like there's a momentum that catches on, especially in college. Will Lennox says if Devo gets better from that three, that would be great. If Devo gets better from three, like if he like becomes a competent 3-point shooter, then look out. I mean, he could end up being really good. Eric E. Pachosa says, did you hear about legendary coach John McDonald passing? Yes, I did. We led the show off with that. Just what an incredible life that guy put together, and the impact, man, and the joy that he brought to people. Great Razorback. Nick Smith, Darian Ford, Khalil Ware, Joseph Pinion looks like another big-time recruiting class. It would be if that all came together. It's a lot of work to be done. Will Lennox says, what are some of the dates that Razorback targets are committing? I don't know if there's anybody that's on commitment watch right now. I don't think we usually – also, you can go to the 24/7 Sports database, and if there is a commitment watch on the player's profile, there'll be a countdown clock on it. Matula Bajoun, Wupiksui. Ray Stapler says, what's the new buzz on the hill with new recruit? We went over pretty much all that stuff. Go Hogs. Golden Isles checking in. Lisa Cup Hancock says, love listening. Love you listening, Lisa. Miss Lisa. Jeremy Dick says, how do you see running back depth starting out? Always love the show, Trey. Well, I think that there's an interesting dynamic there because you got most of the guys that are returning are smaller backs that are fast, shifty. You got Traylon Smith, Josh Oglesby, TJ Hammonds. So smaller guys there. And then you've got a bigger guy in Dominic Johnson who doesn't have great speed, but Dominic Johnson I thought had a really good spring. And then you've got these young guys. You've got A.J. Green and Rocket Sanders. So Sanders goes 6'2", 220 and can run, got a lot of good speed. And A.J. Green is listed at 5'11", 194. I would be willing to bet he's probably going to be a good bit over 200 and can carry that. And it also has blazing speed. So I kind of see those guys eventually kind of creeping up the depth chart. I don't know if I talked about them at midseason. I think I did. But I could see those guys kind of moving up slowly on the depth chart. I still think Traylon Smith starts for you. But, I view Traylon Smith as, a guy you want on the field in first down and, third and long. And then I view Dominic Johnson as a guy you want on, third and short, fourth and short, a guy that can move a pile forward. Because I do think Traylon struggles. He packs a punch for a 185, 190-pound guy, but you still can't make up for all that weight. So that's kind of how I see things shaking out. Just, keep an eye out for Raheem Sanders, for A.J. Green. And odds are both those guys aren't going to be great running backs in the same class. You'd have to go back to Darren McFadden and Felix Jones last time that happened. And those guys were also kind of similar size. Joey Mark says, was Devin Bush just way overrated as a recruit? It's just been injuries, Joey. He's had shoulder. So he came in, he played 4 games as a freshman, which were just terribly mismanaged by John. I was thinking, I don't want to say his name, but John Chavis and Chad Morris. Just him and Jalen Catalon were terribly managed for because you can only get 4 games, so they played them just like special teams here and there, or at the end of the Ole Miss game when it didn't matter. It's like stupid stuff. That's stupid. I can't say stupid enough about how stupid that was. And of course, Devin Bush didn't like it and entered the transfer portal. Sam Pittman comes back. He comes back out of the transfer portal. But he's just had injuries. He's had a shoulder. He wasn't live all spring. He was out there doing stuff, but he wasn't live. So I would say pump the brakes on saying overrated or anything like that on Devin Bush, and let's see when he finally gets healthy, if he can finally impact the roster. Steve Culver says, what about special teams? Need to improve on that this year. Yeah, they put a lot of extra work in there. I'm not convinced yet. Due to all the COVID stuff, I would still say, give Scott Fountain a break on that right now. But there should be no excuse next year. So if the special teams suck next year, then, that's a problem. I know a lot of people were down on Scott Fountain. I'm kind of like, let's give a fair chance, and with COVID stuff, players in and out, that can really affect special teams. So hopefully that improves dramatically. They spent a lot of time on it in the spring. Rick Dodson says, will the way Hog Nation fans treated the Huskers team and fans come back to bite them in Omaha? I actually saw our 24/7 guy over at Nebraska said, it probably won't Omaha won't be a welcoming town. And I'm just like, Arkansas fans are going to take over Omaha. It doesn't matter what the locals think in Omaha. They're going to take over. They're going to take over like they always do. Omaha Hogs, right? All right, everybody. Before we get out of here, sign up $1 right now for your first month if you haven't done so already. Plenty of ways to watch and listen. If you didn't tune in on Facebook Live, then catch it on YouTube. Maybe that's what you're doing right now. Throw us a thumbs up or a like on both of those platforms. Share with your buddies if you think they might like the show. Share it with your old man or your grandpa or somebody who maybe is not technically savvy and they don't know how to get to it. Shoot them a link or something. Let them know how to watch. And also available on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't thrown us that 5-star review, we'd really love to have that from you. 5-star rating and a review. Let other people know what they can expect. Really helps the channel. Also available on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you can think of to find your favorite podcast. All right, turn it off right now and go to Apple Podcasts and give that review if you don't mind. All right, everybody, I want to thank Curtis Wilkerson for joining us. I want to thank Danny West also for his insight, and appreciate all you guys for joining in and watching the show, and ladies as well. And, we'll be back with you guys next week. All right, everybody, this has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.